Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we are continuing with our weekly series of Shirim on the Mitteler Rebbe Shaar HaYichud, and we're going further into understanding the tamsits of Seder HaShtalshalos and transforming the Derech HaRucha, which is from all the way in the Machshava Kaduma of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is the Malchus to Ein Sof, all the way down to the Malchus to Asiya, all of the Riboy extensions of the Seder HaShtalshalos. Nevertheless, in the end of the day, we're trying to be makatzeret and find the tamsits, find that quintessential expression of the entire process, so that we can know how to go up and come back down immediately. And the Mitteler Rebbe has been describing to us different nodal points along the Seder HaShtalshalos of how to grab hold of the very top and the very bottom at the very same moment. And so what the Mitteler Rebbe revealed to us was that this is best done in the nexus or the axis of Keser and Malchus. That Keser and Malchus give us the ability to go all the way from the very top, all the way to the very bottom, all the way from the very bottom, all the way back up to the very top immediately. That if a person goes from the first instantiation of Malchus Kavyachol after the Tzimtzum, prior to the Tzimtzum is Atzmusa Yisparach Kavyachol, which is devoid of any graspability. After the Tzimtzum, the first instantiation is the Malchus to Ein Sof Kavyachol, and then from the Malchus to Ein Sof, it's Yored down to become the Malchus of Ein Sof, which is the Keser of Adam Kadmon, which then becomes the Malchus of Adam Kadmon Kavyachol, which becomes the Keser of Atzilus, which becomes the Malchus of Atzilus, which is then the Keser of Bria, which becomes the Malchus of Bria, which becomes the Keser of Yetzira, which is then the Malchus of Yetzira, which is the Malchus of Asiya, which then expresses itself downwards into the Keser within the Malchus of Asiya, and then from within the Malchus to Asiya, which is Yored down into the Klipas Noiga itself with Ragleh Yardum Aves, is the very same expression of the Malchus to Ein Sof, which was the first instantiation of existence in the highest place imaginable. That's Ani Rishon va'ani Acharon mi baladai ein Elokim, that between the very beginning and the very end is the simple durational extension from the beginning to the end. And so that the highest point of Ani can go down to the lowest point of Ani, and it can express itself down there to the degree that the Seder Hashtalshalos, every part of the chain in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu descends down by way of infinite measure to extend itself down into the finite territories of existence are all part and parcel of a singular extension, one machshava that holds it all together, one kitzer that a person holds close to their heart in order to ensure that they understand the path between the klal and the prat. The Mitteler Rebbe was doing this for us ultimately because he's been teaching us over and over that the proper way of hisbonenus is klal prat to klal, that we begin with the general principle of the klal, which is ani rishon, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everything and everything is unified. Then with confidence from that original whole, we descend down into the particularized parts, down to the lowest parts possible, particular that can possibly be particularized. And then after all of those particularized or particularizations are expressing themselves through their gevura and their partiality, then we come back to a place of a klal that's kolol everything together, and it shows us that ani rishon and ani achron, and that everything that seems to have taken place in the middle was nothing but an extension of that original whole to reveal the wholeness of the whole, which is the secret of the yichud ilah. But it's yichud ilah that dips down into yichud tata, and then yichud tata goes back up into yichud ilah to reveal how both yichud ilah and yichud tata are null and void in the face of that place that they're both contained within, which is the secret of Atzmusa Yisparach Kavyachol. The whole process of Shaar HaYichud, the whole purpose of hisbonenus, the whole mitzias of the Welt is the process of klal, prat, and klal, descending from the klal into the prat and then back into the klal, because the Mitteler Rebbe is giving us an understanding of why it's valuable to contemplate the klal and why it's valuable to contemplate the prat, and why by way of contemplation of the klal you lose out on the potency of the prat, and by way of contemplation on the prat you lose out on the holistic unity of the klal. And that's why tovim hashnayim min ha'echad, because in truth it's echad shu shtayim, and that Chochma and Bina are both fundamentally unified together. And that's what we saw. The Mitteler Rebbe was giving us an example of the derech of the kitzer, of understanding Seder Hashtalshalos in the right way, so that even when I go down to the lowest possible prat, and it seems so far and so devoid of any illumination, nevertheless I'm still holding by the original klal itself. And so what the Mitteler Rebbe gave us last week in a nearly perfect expression was the access of Keser and Malchus, which becomes a nodal point along the map in which I can go up and down immediately. It's like this kitzer, it's this cheat guide, so to speak, that gives me everything that I possibly need to know, but not in a cheating type of way, because in this tamsitz, I'm actually accessing everything that there has to be. Ultimately, what the Mitteler Rebbe is trying to show in this process of the klal to the prat and the prat back to the klal is how that when you're holding by the very top of my malchus to Ein Sof and you're holding by the very bottom, which is malchus to asiya, you're holding the same exact thing. And ani hu v'hu shmi, that I am my name and my name is me. This impossible unity between Hakadosh Baruch Hu and the expression that emerges from within Hakadosh Baruch Hu, which is seemingly the concealment of the essence of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, is also as reflective as Hakadosh Baruch Hu as the essence that this revelation comes to conceal. That it's ani rishon v'ani achron, umi baladai, that there's really no duration, there's no separation between those two expressions other than the middle. This is what we have to understand in the process of his blindness and thinking about the metzias that the Arizal gives us and all of the mashalim and all of the different variated metaphors which we've learned about, the oirech, the oimek, and the roichev. So the whole purpose can really be understood in the words of Rav Hillel. We're going to look at Rav Hillel Paracher for the Osios of Zayin Ches and Tes, which is what we're in the middle of learning in Shaar HaYichud. Rav Hillel has one long mimer, which contains all three of the points together. But the ultimate point is coming to say this, that for Rav Hillel says as follows, Ubir Ha'inyan, the explanation of the matter of what's being described in Siman Zayin Ches and Tes, today we're in Ches, is based on the pasuk Ani Rishon v'Ani Achron. Meaning to say, Ani Rishon, I am the beginning of all beginnings, is the element of that first light, which is Achdas HaPashut, which is either referred to as the original or the trans-original. But Ani Achron, and I am last, means that I am at the end of all things, Malchus to Asiya, all of the gradational shift between the highest and the lowest, Kulo Chad. All of them are singular. They're all contained within the singular sweeping movement of Seder Hashtalshlis. Ukema'amar, like the pasuk says, Re'u ki ani hu. See that I at my highest am also the I at the lowest as well. They're both the same expression. V'zehu, this is the secret of no, it's tchilasan b'soifan v'tsoifan b'tchilasam. That the beginning is embedded in the end and the end is embedded in the beginning. That the potential of the beginningness descends downwards and it extends itself by way of the Seder Hashtalshlis to the degree that it's revealed even at the lowest possible iteration, at the lowest part of the unfolding chain of being, is exactly where the beginning of that chain of being is going to be embedded. And so too with the end being embedded in the beginning, because ultimately the self-negation and the revelation of godliness that takes place from the lowest possible place is in truth the original purpose for the entire movement from the original Achdas HaPashut. And that's a rough translation of Rav Hillel. Now listen to the words of Rav Hillel. Ulechein, and therefore, Nikra hishtalshelus b'mashal hashalsheles, the unfolding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's reality, is referred to as a chain process, a seder of hishtalshelus, meharbe tabaus kshurim zubazu, with many links in the chain linked one to the other. Mehavaya ha'elyoina notes b'tachtoina hemena, mehavaya ha'tachtoina notes be'elyoina hemena. That there's going to be each and every link in that chain is going to be anchored to that which it is rooted in and extending down towards which it's going down towards. All of them are connected in this linked chain type of way, to the degree that even the lowest link in the chain, Bilvad, even though that the one that precedes it is only the one that is most interior to it, and it's the second to lowest on the chain, nevertheless, it is still fundamentally connected to the highest possible link in the chain, to the degree, and the proof of the matter is that if you shake the lowest one, it will create a movement and a shift within the highest one. And even the highest one, even though the upper one only extends itself down to the one that rests beneath it in level, and so too by way of the top down as well. There is an interconnectivity of the klal and the prat, where the prat in its most differentiated form is only an index that reveals the klaliyut hakol, is going to be apparent to each person in the Seder Hashtalshlus. The Mitteler Rebbe was able, he says in Perek Zayin, was able to use the Keser Malchus access as a way of developing a kitzer from the arichos of the Seder HaShtalshlus. That specifically, theoretically, when thinking about Malchus or Keser, you can have this kind of quick elevator liftoff all the way back up to the heights of the Seder HaShtalshlus and all the way back down again, specifically as a result of Keser and Malchus, because they operate in that kind of middle line in the Kav HaEmsai. In the language of the Mitteler Rebbe in Shaar Zayin was that the reason that we're able to do this with regards to Keser is because by Keser, it doesn't necessarily operate in accordance to the same chain reaction that we typically orient. Keser has no distinction between its highest expression and its lowest expression. So theoretically, because of the unique relationship between Keser and Malchus, which is Ani and Ayin, and they're spelt with the same letters, so they have this unique relationship with each other. So maybe it's only Keser and Malchus that enable me to have this very, very quick route from the lowest to the highest and from the highest to the lowest. But what the Mitteler Rebbe is going to explain to us in Perek Ches is that Adraba Ibcha Mestabra, this also works for Chochma. It also works for Chochma. It's funny, you see throughout, there's 54 prakim in Shaar HaYichud, which is rooted in Malchus, which is the shame of Adnus, and there's 54 times that the name of Haman is said in the Megillah, and 54 is the gematria of Dan, which has the ability of being Mevatel Edom, 54 permutations of relating to Adnus. That's what the Mitteler Rebbe is coming to reveal at the lowest part. And we see that there's a siyata d'shmaya and there's a hashkacha elyoina, as Rav Yonasan Eibschitz points out, and as Rav Tzadok says, that there's an omni significance to the text. And you could find within the writings, of the tzaddikim, the Ruach HaKodesh that is embedded within them. So there's a certain alignment of the prakim in this sefer in Shaar HaYichud and the content that the prakim are talking about that begins to kind of take shape. And you see that the number of the parak is also hinting to the sugya in the parak. So in the previous parak Zion, we spoke about Keser, and Keser is the vav with the little dot on top of it, like the crown, which is the Zion, the tagan of the osios, and that's the hinting to the fact that it goes from Keser down to Malchus. Malchus is also the seventh sphira. That Ches is going to be talking about Chochma now. And we'll see this in Parak Lamed Beis. It's talking about Lamed Beis and Nesivas Chochma. And it's almost as if there's Gan prakim to the Tanya, and we know that the Balatanya was Moser Nefesh for each and every one of those prakim, and then the Shaar HaYichud, which is the secret of the Tesefes Kishut, that the son is like the foot of the father, which is meant to extend ever so slightly outwards. So the Mitteler Rebbe say for Shaar HaYichud is going to have 54. Ki'ilu, it's one out and beyond. It's built upon the Nun Gimel Sha'arim of Tanya, and the prakim of Tanya, and it extends itself outwards to become the Nun Daled, the same way that the Balatanya explains the secret of learning something 101 times. It's not that it's different than the 100 times. It's just that it juts out of the 100th time. And that extension is that revelation of the next level. So we can say these 54 sha'arim of the 54 prakim of Shaar HaYichud are an extension of the 53 chapters in Tanya itself. And so in Os Ches, we're going to be talking about Chochma. That the Mitteler Rebbe is going to say something incredible. You may have thought that this immediate lift off from the bottom to the top and from the top to the bottom without any delay whatsoever, so that I can see my world and my days, and I can see everything as it is in the roots of unity, even in the depths of disunity. You may have thought that that's relegated to the secrets of Keser and Malchus, which is when that I have this elevator that can go up or down. But, says the Mitteler Rebbe, it's also true for Chochma. It's also true for Chochma, which is a Pella. It's true for Chochma because we tend to see Chochma as being a layer below Keser, as it is, and that anything below Keser doesn't necessarily have the ability to convey the same potency of Keser. But what we're seeing over here is we're going to see from the Mitteler Rebbe that it's specifically Chochma that also bears within itself the traits of Keser, to the degree that the halachos that are said about Keser in certain situations are also going to be applied to Chochma, and that the unique capacity of Keser to go all the way up and all the way down in one fell swoop is going to be true for Chochma as well. And it makes sense to the degree, obviously, to the degree that Keser is the Kutza Shel Yud, and the Yud is Chochma itself. So whatever is true for Keser is also going to be true in a more congealed way within Chochma itself. This is what the Ramchal hints to in the secret of Kinas Hashem Tzivakos, that really the two beginnings of creation, which are Keser and Chochma, are always intertwined together. This is the secret of Pnimius Chochma, Pnimius Atik, that when a person goes into the depths of Chochma, even though it appears to be a secondary stage below the Keser, what it does is it gives a person access not only to Keser itself, but to the inner interiority of Keser, which is the secret of Pnimius Chochma, Pnimius Atik. So we're going to see here is that whatever is true about Keser is also going to be true, surprise, about Chochma as well. And this is b'siyata d'shmai, exactly what's taking place on Purim. On Purim, the Hiskalus is Yesod Abba. It's the Hiskalus of Chochma lamata me'asar tvachim. It's Chochma mislabish in a revealed way within the worlds of separation, in a darga of the Nes of Purim, where the light of Chochma remains specifically revealed within Malchus itself. And in that place, Chochma reveals itself to be able to go all the way, all the way, all the way down. And the secret of Kulam b'Chochma isbariru, that typically Chochma stays above. It stays above the lights of separation. It stays above Bina, Zer, Anpin, and Malchus. It stays beyond the worlds of separation. On Purim, the light of Chochma, the light of Yesod, the Abba, the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, the light of Mordechai Tzaddik, it ascends downwards, down, 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 and it reveals itself. Mordechai Yatzam, Lefnei HaMelech, and it reveals itself within the realms of concealment as well. And that's what we're going to see from the Mitteler Rebbe, that there is a hidden power within Chochma, that when you access Chochma at any point, you're also accessing the essence of Chochma. This is not necessarily going to be revealed in a revealed way in Bina or Zer Anpin. But on the level of Chochma, we're going to see that the Mitteler Rebbe is also going to hint to us that Chochma gives us this immediate ability, no matter where we're holding in the place of Bittul, no matter where we're holding in a Bittul, every ounce of Bittul connects to the depths of Bittul. Just as every ounce of Ratzon connects to the depths of Ratzon in the realm of Keser, so too the depths of Bittul bring a person directly into contact with the highest levels of Bittul itself. So let's read the words of the Mitteler Rebbe Be'ezras Hashem and Bizoicha. וכך הדרך זה, שבבחינס הכסר יש ייחוד כל פרטיהם אל הכלל, עד בחינס הרצון הפשוט שבעצמיוס or אינסוף ממש, כנזכר לעיל. That just as we described with regards to Keser, that there's a way of looking at it from a singular one fell swoop of unity that contains all of the particular applications of Keser down to the lowest place of Malchus within the original whole of it, from the highest Ratzon, the simple Ratzon that exists, so to speak, within the essence of the infinite light, down to the lowest level of Ratzon that a human being can experience. By Keser and Malchus, we saw that they're both one and the same. כך יוכל האדם להספינן גם בבחינת החוכמה שבכל עולם מראש לסוף. So too a person can contemplate the secret of Chochma that rests in each and every world, from its highest point on the Seder Hashtalshalis down to its lowest iteration. V'hu ma shekasev bereishis bara. And this is what the pasuk says, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, bereishis bara. That when we're looking already at the emergent world of creation, which is from Chochma and below, seemingly we wouldn't be able to gain access to this yichud of all of the pratim. But we see that even within the beginning itself of bereishis bara, which is Chochma, that we still have this ability. It's the pre-original light that embeds itself within the beginning, and even though the beginning is part and parcel of an unfolding order, the beginning of the unfolding order contains the irreducible trace of that independent light of Keser that preceded it, which is the Kudsel Shal Yud that's connected to the Yud. So Bereshis Bara, what is Bereshis Bara? V'targum Yonasan b'chuchmasa. The Targum of Bereshis is that the beginning of all things, the beginning of our understanding, is Chochma. V'al tomru b'kadmin bara. It doesn't say that the world was created with the kadmon, which is the secret of Keser. The world was not created with Keser, but rather it was created with Chochma. It doesn't mean that Keser started all things, which is the element of Keser. It's not as if Keser set in motion the entirety of reality in a revealed way. That's Chochma's job. Keser precedes Chochma. It's the essence that precedes expression. Because Chochma is emergent from within the nothingness of Keser. But it's not nothingness. It's the first instantiation of nothingness. It's nothingness revealed. Keser is nothingness in a concealed way. Chochma is the ayin is yesh me ayin to the degree that Keser is ayin in relationship to the yeshus of Chochma, but be'erich everything else, Chochma is going to be ayin and everything else is going to be considered yesh. So it's in between yesh and ayin. Chochma is in between, it's something and nothing at once. Masha'en ken haratzon, the will, Keser, is beyond that, v'chule. It's more abstract. It's not part of the unfolding order, even though it embeds itself within every shlav of the unfolding order. Nevertheless, it's not the revealed beginning, it's the concealed beginning. Aval kamosha haratzon, nitztam stem min ha'atzmus ad shemislabesh ba'asiya lihiyos kol asher chafetz asa. But just as we said in the previous chapter, that when it comes to the mashal of Keser and Malchus within the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu unfolds the worlds, we can find it within ourselves, that from the original instantiation of a ratzon that is emergent from the essence of the self, so to speak, it condenses itself and it conceals itself and it contracts itself from that essential form of undefined ratzon to the degree that it now engarbs itself within the actual experience of desiring something, at which point I can actually desire what I would like to do, as we spoke about before. So from the highest level of Ratzon to the lowest iteration of Ratzon, it's all one fell swoop. Kach bechinas hachachma mitztamsemet min ha'atzmus So too with regards to Chochma, that any ounce of Chochma, any ounce of wisdom, any ounce of bittul, which is the wisdom of self-nullification, is what Chochma is. It's the wisdom of nothingness. It's learning nothingness. It's learning how to be nothing. It's the light of Koyach Ma. Any point on the Seder Shtalshalos that I touch Chachma, I am accessing an immediate liftoff to all of the highest levels of Chachma, so that I have one fell swoop of all things. And that place of the Histalis of the Yesod Abba. That so too the Chachma contracts itself and minimizes itself from the essence of itself. What's the essence of Chachma? The essence of Chachma is referred to as Chochma HaKeduma. Yud Chochma Keduma, Chochma HaKeduma, which is the Keser of Chochma, that's Megala, the Chochma within Keser, that original light of Chochma Kaduma, or it's also referred to as the Chochma Hapshuta Ba'achdus Hapashut. It's the simple wisdom within the simple unity. It's prior to any form of a definition, but still particularized to the degree that it's Chochma, V'chulei, Umisham Nimshach Melamala Lamata. And it's from that place that Chochma is drawn, that wisdom is drawn forth, so to speak, from the depths of the infinite. It's drawn forth down from that place, from above down to below, in each and every world in accordance with its stations, from world to world of Atzilus, Bri, Yitzira, and Asiya, ad bechinas ha-chochma shebemalchus to malchus to Asiya, to the degree that the chochma that operates within the malchus of malchus and olam ha-Asiya, my chochma, is a direct transplant, a direct drawing down from those depths of chochma, from the ma'ayan ha-chochma. She'al zeh ne'emar kulam b'chochma asita. And this is what the pasuk means when it says that all of it is done by way of wisdom, all of it is done by way of Chochma, that Chochma is Magal itself within the Asiya, where Chochma is revealed in Asiya. Because just as it says that Bereshis is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created with Chochma, Kach b'Chochma yatzar v'asa. So too HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world of Asiya, of Yetzira with Chochma, and the world of Asiya with Chochma. There's a Chochma that can be found everywhere, not only in the world of Bria, but also in the world of Yetzira, and in the world of Asiya, and in the world of Atzilus. Just as with the desire of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, which is the representation of Keser, all of that threefold particularization of separation of the thought, separation of the heart, and separation of the body, which is Bri, Yitzira, and Asiya, were all contained within one fell swoop of desire. Like we said by Ratzon, that everything is revealed in one fell swoop, and then they emerge from one end to the beginning of the next level. That all of the Ritzonos are Niskala in the world of Bria, and then they're Nimshach from the Malchus of Bria to become the Keser of Yetzira, and the Malchus of Yetzira becomes the Keser of Asiya, to the point that they descend downwards in that chain-like process from the Malchus of Keser of Bria down to the Malchus of Yetzira v'chulei. Just as that process takes shape and it reveals itself everywhere, not only in Atzilus, so too, Kach b'chochma echad bara v'yatzar v'aser rak sheyared v'nishtalshel mebriya liyitzira v'chulei v'hainu shenimshach bebechinas malchus shebechachma debriya l'chachma shebemalchus liyitzira v'al derech zeh meyitzira l'asiyad shechachma shebemalchus the asiya. So too with regards to Chochma, that all of it was revealed, the Chochma emergent from Atzilus Kavyachol, which is containing within itself the capacity of Chochma to extend itself downwards in accordance with the three particularization state of Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya. It all comes out as one, except it descends one from the other, from Bria to Yitzira, v'chule. Meaning to say, it draws itself from the Malchus of Chochma in Bria, to become the Chochma within the Malchus of Yetzira, and then from there to Yetzira to Asiya, till we find ourselves at the Chochma within Malchus to Asiya, which is us, which is Sha'al zeh ne'emar kulam b'Chochma asita. So we see the same dynamics of picking up on the stream of Chochma at any point along the Seder Shtalshalos and being able to go all the way back up. Because ultimately Chochma is just an externalization of Atik, and Chochma is an extension of Keser itself. Hashem b'Chochma yasad aretz, and we also know the depth of the pasuk that it's with Chochma that HaKadosh Baruch Hu founded the aretz itself, which is the secret of Malchus. That on the lowest level of Malchus, a person is also going to have to be able to access the depths of Chochma. V'chi haygavna. We have many psukim that imply the universality in which Chochma reveals itself from the top to the bottom. In parentheses, says the Heilige Mitteler Rebbe, והגם שדרך פרט הרי משתלשל מבחינת מלכוס דמלכוס דבריאה להיוס כסר ליצירה וחוכמה דיצירה ממלכוס דכסר דיצירה מכל מקום דרך כלל כל בחינת אילה ואלול מעולם לעולם נמשך מזה לזה שלא על ידי צמצום ריבוי הממוצעים שביניהם כמו והשם נתן חוכמה לשלמה שהיה בעולם העשייה הרי נמשך ההשפעה זו מחוכמה שבעצמיוס אור אינסוף לחוכמה דאק ומחוכמה דאק לחוכמה סתימה דעתיק וערך ומשם לאור אבא דאצילוס עד בחינס חוכמה שבמלכוס דאצילוס ומשם לחוכמה שבמלכוס דבריאה וכולי על דרך זה מבריאה ליצירה ויצירה לעשייה. The Mitteler Rebbe is saying something fundamental here, and this is the depth of the Rashash, that the Mitteler Rebbe is saying, wait a second. We saw earlier that Keser and Malchus and Keser, that's a streamline in which wherever point I find myself in that stream of Keser, I can extend myself all the way back up to the origin of Keser, because Keser is this quality that it is above and beyond this process of cause and effect. It's above and beyond the derech of Ila and Alul, of just being able to grasp the level that I come from, but rather it reveals itself to be kind of trans the system. It extends beyond the system. It doesn't negate the system, but it exceeds the system. So it has this free pass to go up and down as it wills. And therefore, we can see that Keser reveals itself in Malchus. But by Chochma, so we're saying that the Chochma Keduma is Meskal itself in the Chochma Da'ak, and the Chochma Da'ak of Yachal is Meskal itself in the Chochma Da'atzilus. And then the Chochma Da'atzilus is Yored Lamata, and it contains within itself the Chochma of Biyah, and then Biyah gives birth to Yitzira and then Asiya, until we come to our own mind in this world. But the Mitteler Rebbe is saying, but we don't have that same kind of free pass that we have by Keser, the question we began with. That when you go from world to world, it's not like it goes from Keser to Keser and from Chochma to Chochma. It goes from Keser to Keser, and then from Keser to Chochma, and then from Chochma to Bina, and then from Bina down to Zer Anpin in the typical orientation of the Seder Ishtalshlus. So I understand that there's this direct orientation of wherever Keser reveals itself, it awakens every spark of Keser elsewhere, because that's a quality of Keser. And if it's a quality of Keser, it's a quality of Malchus. But to see this same quality by Chochma, to break the Seder Ishtalshlus, where there's now going to be a direct equivalency between Chochma in that world and Chochma in this world, without the necessity of descending down through Keser of each world. So the Mitteler Rebbe is saying, so theoretically the klal shouldn't work by Chochma. But says the Mitteler Rebbe that in truth, when it comes to the transformation from world to world, even though, let's say, for example, I'm operating in the world of Bria, and I want to draw down Chochma in the world of Bria. So in order to draw down Chochma in the world of Bria, I have to go and first schlep the Chochma through the Keser of the world of Bria, which is the Malchus of the world of Atzilus, which is then the Keser of the world of Atzilus. So there's always that in between. So it seems that Chochma is really coming from Keser. Nevertheless, as the Mitteler Rebbe, in truth, there's an inner relationship between all of the Partsufim, that there's a direct equivalency from one world to the other. This is the depths of the Rashash and Rechavas Anar, as I understand it through the Svarim HaKadoshim of the Rebbe and his Talmidim, that there's a direct equivalency with the Chochma of the world of Atzilus and the Chochma of the world of Bria and the Chochma of the world of Yisira. And even though there's this long-winded process of the Seder Hashtalshalos where you go through the Riboit Tzimtzumim and the Mumutzaim and the in-between stages where it seems to be losing sight of the original Chochma, nevertheless, as the Mitteler Rebbe, it's true by all Partsufim. It's true by all Partsufim. All the more so, and in a unique way, it's true by Chochma as well. And so what happens in this process of Chochma, and I will go back to the words that we read because it's going to bring, what the Mitteler Rebbe is doing is he's telling us exactly what we need to be doing. The language and the crescendo of the language of the Mitteler Rebbe is nearly miraculous. It's miraculous. In the sense that he wrote this book for everybody. He wrote this book, as the Maharash says, for everybody. And if it can penetrate into a mind like mine, then it can penetrate into a mind like anybody's. So the language of the Mitteler Rebbe is as follows, that we have this quality by Chochma as well. We have this quality by Chochma as well. And even though in general, when there is an emergence of the level from Malchus of Bria, meaning Malchus of Bria goes down and it becomes the Keser of Yetzira, and only then Chochma of Yetzira comes from the Malchus, which is the Keser of Yetzira. And so we see that Chochma is coming from Keser, and it's not coming from the original level of Chochma. Mikol Makom, says the Mitteler Rebbe, derech klal kol bechinas ila va'olul me'olam la'olam nimshach mizeh lezeh shelo al yedei tzimtzum riboy hamimutzaim shebenehem. In truth of the matter, even though each and every level is descending from its level after all of these processes of Tzimtzumim and in-between processes, because after Keser, everything has to then be schlepped through each and every item, so that if I'm trying to draw Malchus from a higher world, if I'm trying to draw Zer Anpin from the world of Atzilus into the world of Bria, so to speak, in accordance to the orientation that the Mitteler Rebbe is giving us, I would have to then schlep the Zer Anpin of Atzilus into the Malchus of Atzilus, and then from there it would become the Keser of Olam Habriya, and then it would go to the Chochma, and then to the Bina of Olam Habriya, and then finally it would come to the Zer Anpin of Olam Habriya, so there would be Riboy Dargin in between. Nevertheless, says the Mitteler Rebbe, each thing is directly connected to the level above it, in spite of all of the riboy memutzaim that seem to block it. So there's always two ways of looking at a process of emergence. There is the chain process, in which I extend only from the level that is right above me, and that's just another link in a long chain. Or I have a direct access point back to the real origin, and I have this ability to be medalig al harim within Chochma, to be medalig all the way back up to the original point. And what the Mitteler Rebbe was saying is that this is really true for all of the parts of him. It's true for all of the partzufim, that even though there's these riboy memutzaim and all of this processing that's taking place, nevertheless, b'derech klal, we don't really pay too much attention to all of the riboy memutzaim, and we look at how Chochma goes to Chochma and Bina goes to Bina. For example, V'Hashem nasan Chochma l'Shlomo. What does it mean that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Chochma to Shlomo? It means that when Shlomo existed in the world of Asiya, the place that he had wisdom from was being drawn from the Chochma that exists within the essence of the infinite light, so to speak. And the essence of the Chochma within the essence of the infinite light, so to speak, that Chochma Kaduma, then gets drawn down to the Chochma of Adam Kadmon, Kavyachol, and from Chochma of Adam Kadmon, it then becomes the Chochma Stima'a of Atik Yoimin, and then from there it goes down to Arich Anpin, and then from there it becomes Abba in the world of Atzilus, which is Chochma itself, and then it goes from there to Bri Yitzir and Asiya, to the degree that it becomes the Chochma within the Malchus of Atzilus, and then the Malchus of Atzilus breaks the mind-body kind of barrier, and it descends down into the worlds of separation, and that Chochma of the Malchus then expresses itself in the world of Bria, and then it goes from Bria to Yitzir and Yitzir to Atzia, to the degree that Ad Shabaha or V'Hashefa Chochmas Elikis Azois B'Nishma Shleima Mechochma Shebemalchus to Asiya, to the degree that Shlomo Melech was contemplating in his own mind, experiencing a shaking, so to speak, of the loftiest levels of Chochma. This is the koyach of bittul within Chochma. Chochma is unique, and it bears an imprint of Keser, primarily because of the koyach of bittul that is inherent within it. And once you access bittul, the same thing is going to be true. Wherever you find yourself on the bittul line, you're also accessing the fullest expression of bittul. And this is true for each and every person, not only for Shlomo Melech. And so too, b'cheichal kodesh hakadashim shebebeis hamikdash heir mekeser v'chochma shebeatzmius ad b'bechinas keser v'chochma shebeheichal b'kodesh hakadashim da'asiya beluchos v'aron gashmi shayu oimdim meheichal kodesh hakadashim habanu lamata harei shoyre me keser v'chochma da'heichal kodesh hakadashim da'asiya haruchnius l'chulei. And so too, and the Mitteler Rebbe is being very, very delicate here in terms of the example that he's giving. He's talking about the luchos and the aron within the Kodesh HaKadoshim in the Beis HaMikdash. And this is also true, as is revealed in Shaar HaYichud v'Emunah, about every element of existence, that they are a congealment of the Seder Hishtalshalis of the loftiest levels of Keser and Chochma Shebe'atzmius or in Sof Kavyachol. That the Seder Hishtalshalis is not medalig. There's a direct orientation, and it takes shape deepest in the realm of Malchus. And Chochma also, just like Keser has a relationship with Malchus, so too Chochma has a very unique relationship with Malchus, because it's Abi Sabrata. That Chochma b'pnimiuso is Meskala within Malchus, which then has the ability of going all the way back up to reveal Pnimius Chochma, Pnimius Atik. V'kach anu mevakshim, and just as we daven, you don't have to go and contemplate the Aron HaKodesh and the Luchos and the Beis HaMikdash to understand this orientation to Chachma, and how to understand that when I think about HaKadosh Baruch Hu is literally being thought about in my mind, and Hashem reveals himself to me, Kavyachol, by way of my own thinking, and that thought is grasping the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a new way that is ontologically rooted, and it reveals the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu more and more, and it's drawing down more infinite light into existence. It's not just positive thinking, it's a thinking that draws down positivity into the Welt, because it's schlepping from the highest level of Chochma all the way down. That's the capacity of thought. Thought doesn't have the ability to be mamshech anything on its own, but thought has the ability to awaken a chain reaction that brings about a bittul muchletes that then accesses the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, being mashpia lamata, all of the goodness that can possibly be imagined. But we see this also within our own thinking. V'kach anu mevakshim atachaynin la'adam das. We ask that HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us knowledge, v'chulei. V'chanenu me'ischa dafka v'chulei v'day lamevim. When we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for thinking, when we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu kaviyachol for thoughts, we're asking Hashem, you give it to me, beyond the Seder Shtalshalos. And this is what's hinted in Rabbeinu's teachings, where it's l'cha amar libi bikshu panayis panecha Hashem avakesh, that achein ruach hu be'enosh v'nishmat shadai tavinim, that the thoughts of the mensch are reflective of the infinite thoughts kaviyachol that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is being mashpia lamata into the mind of the individual themselves. Va'al derech mashal, and by way of a metaphor, we can understand by way of human experience that shachachmasoi ha'atzmius ha'hiulit koilel koil hista'afus hispashtus, or chachmasoi ad lechutz me'atzmus shaloi legamre. That any time a person contemplates wisdom, or a notion of wisdom emerges within the Keser of the individual's mind, and so the Chochma within Keser then draws itself down to be the Keser of Chochma. And then that Chochma goes all the way down. That in the initial origination of my Chochma, in its essential HaYichud form, HaYichud in the sense that it contains all possibility prior to any particular actualization, it contains within it all possible outgrowths of thoughts that include within themselves the outpouring of thought and the overflow of thought to the degree that my chachma leaves the inside of my essence and it extends outwards completely. That just as when I'm actually thinking in this world and trying to develop a way of thinking about something practical, it seems that it's completely removed from that original chachma that exists within the atzmius of the Or Ein Sof Kaviyachol. But nevertheless, says the Mitteler Rebbe, ve'ein hefresh etzlo bein hispashtus chachmaso ha'atzmius be'esem sichlo lahaskil iyun sichli lehispashtus shalo ba'asiya nivdeles shahakol nikra b'shem his chachmus achad ela shezeh beruchnius u'ba'atzmuso yoter u'ba'asiya ba b'davar nivdal ad shelagabe b'chinas ha'atzmus mamish harei hakol rak his chachmus alif rak shoheleches u'mispashetet me'iyun sichlo lemidoisav u'machshavto ad she'oisa mamish b'chachmaso zeh k'moi b'his chachmus be'esek masav u'matan b'chulei. What the Mitteler Rebbe is saying, he's feeding us like children mamish. What the Mitteler Rebbe is saying is that the essence of thought in its most abstract and transcendent form, in its HaYichud form, eventually expresses itself by way of the tzimtzumim and the seder shtalshalos, to the degree that it gets engarbed within the practical application of thinking in this world, and that there is no difference between when a person thinks with wisdom about the essence of their mind when it's contemplating divine matters, or when a person is operating within the world of Asiya. It's all contained within one single perspective of Chochma, because in relationship to the Baal HaChochma HaAmiti that we don't have a Hasaga from, and Leis Machshavat Tfisa Ve'klal, then all of the Chochmas from the highest to the lowest is Kulam B'Chochma Asita. All Chochma, even the highest level, is considered null and void be'erech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so even the highest Chochma and the lowest Chochma, they're far more similar. The lowest possible Chochma is far more similar to the highest level of Chochma than the highest level of Chochma is to the essence of anything. And when we come to realize that wherever my mind is thinking, wherever I'm thinking, however separate my thinking seems to be, even if it's stuck within the gashmias of this world, I'm still connecting to the amkus of the etzem his chachmus that's extending itself in the contemplation of my mind, which is why the Mitteler Rebbe was teaching us how to think, because thinking is the vehicle that draws down the infinite light. And from my thinking towards my midos and towards the contemplations, towards the degree that I finally engage in something, it's all one fell swoop of Chochma. Just as when HaKadosh Baruch Hu uttered, so to speak, that there should be light, so too it immediately revealed itself in action and in congealment. When it says Vayihi Or, the origination of the Or is the essence of the wisdom, that essential wisdom that exists within the Ma'atzil Kavyachol, who decided to emanate by way of Chochma, by way of the Tzimtzumim Rabbim, for that light to begin to emerge, by way of Bereshis Bara Elokim, B'chuchmasa Bara. The first levush that HaKadosh Baruch Hu engarbed himself with in order to reveal Metzias is Chochma. The Tzimtzum is Chochma. It's a Nekuda Pnimius, it's the Yud itself, it's Chochma. And afterwards, that same wisdom of the infinite, so to speak, descends down and expresses itself in the creations of the world of separation, of Bri, Yitzir, and Asiya, v'chulei. The kachu b'chol pratei heshavus and etzalim v'hanivraim v'hanoitzim v'hanasim me'atzmus ha'in sof v'chulei. This is how it always works. This is how it always works in terms of the emergence of anything from the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's all schlepping down and drawing down from the level that exists on the level above it. Kulam miyuchadim umukusharim kol pratiosam ba'atzmias or ein soif sheba'atzilas bri yitzir va'asiya. Each and every particular extension of anything is rooted fundamentally within the infinite light that is revealed within the innermost interiority of the Chaya and the Yechida, even in the world of Asiya, especially in the world of Atzilas, Avad in the world of Atzilas, and everywhere above, waiting to be revealed. It's all rooted in that infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And there's no distinction from Mitzido Yisparach, and there should be no distinction Mitzidenu from the first to the last whatsoever. It's all the same. V'im kain, Masha Kosev ani Rishon v'ani Achron, so too we see that because Chochma has this quality of bittul, which is the source of creation, it empties itself out to the degree of translucency. It's the secret of the tzimtzum. It's the secret of dai l'chakima biramiza. It's the amkas of Chochma that descends down. It's the asayid da'abba. It's the or of the tzadikim. It has the quality then of descending down and up in one fell swoop, from the highest to the lowest. And v'chein yuvan aderech zeh derech prat b'chinas yichud klali b'chinas hamidos u'machshava dibur ma'aser sheb'chol olam medalad olam is ta'abiyah. And so too, and now based on that ha'ara that the Mitteler Rebbe made before, that theoretically this direct translation of Keser above to the Keser below is also going to apply to Chochma above and Chochma below. It's also going to apply to Bina, and it's also going to apply to the Midos as well. But the Mitteler Rebbe is going to run through that quicker and not spend so much time focusing on that. That's how I understand these 4 lines. If anybody thinks differently, please let me know. The B'chinas Yichud Klali. That's so too in a general way, without going into the particulars of it. A general way of understanding how the midos also emerge in this same type of way. And not only the midos, but the machshava, the dibur, and the maisa of the individual also emerges in this way. That on every level, the machshava, dibur, and maisa, the 3 levushim, and the inyan of the midos, and the zeranpin and the malchus of it all, that which is being revealed below, because it's always the midos that are being revealed in the lower world, it's the zayin tachtoinim, that so too they're going to be reflective of their root in the higher world as well. Midos that it's the midos, it's the zeranpin of Atzilus that's going to engarb itself in the zeranpin of Bria v'chulei, and the zeranpin of Bria is going to be mislabish itself in the zeranpin of Yitzira, and the zeranpin of Yitzira is going to be mislabish itself within the midos of Asiya, to the degree that the bechina of the vak, the Asiya, the midos that a person experiences within Olam HaAsiya na'utz b'tchilasa, and it roots all the way back to the origination of the midos themselves, which is the pnimius of Atek Yomin hakol b'midos of ha'atzmim shelufnei ha'atzilus, to the degree that it roots back to the radical secret of the tzimtzumim of the midos themselves prior to the emergence of the world of Atzilus. That's what it means when it says that the midos extend beyond the history of the days, because midos are usually the 7 days, but there's also a history of the days prior to the particularization of the days, which is the presence of the midos themselves, kaviyachol, even in the levels that are higher than the midos. That's where we're dealing already with the Zayin Midos of Adam Kadmoin and Atik Yoimin. So it's going it's going in ascending order. So we extend all of the midos back first to the highest point the lowest point of the highest level, which is the Zayin Tachtanim of Atik Yoimin, which are Mislabish and the Zayin Tikkunim B'Arach Anpen, and then from there we extend even back to the Zer Anpen and the Malchus of Adam Kadmon itself, and then we extend even back Ad Midos Shebe'or Ein Soif Atzmo Hagnuzas Ba'atzmos Shalomamish K'mei B'chinas Chesed Shebe'or Ein Soif Atzmo, to the degree that just as there's this Indian of a Malchus, the Ein Sof Kavyachol, there's also an element of Eser Sfiros Agnuzos B'Ma'atzila, and as the Shomer Munim Akadmon talks about, and anybody who wants to know about these sugyos in the clearest possible way, a person should go and they should buy the writings of the Rebbe Shlita, and they should learn the Ma'amarim of Pnimius Kabbalah v'Hachasidus that are printed in Mamrei HaChochma, 2 volumes that clarifies every ounce of this to the degree that even a child can talk about it in a healthy and confident and faithful way. Admido Shebe'or Ein Sof, B'Bechinas Chesed Shebe'or Ein Sof Atzmo, to the degree that we extend upwards to the light of Chesed, that when I'm awakening Chesed down here below, I'm actually awakening the impulse, kavyachol lamala mitzidi, as I understand it, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's desire to bestow chesed, that the choy katov lehetiv. Al zenem ar chazde Hashem ki lo samru. The chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in truth, never stops coming down, because every time that there's a chesed down here, it's also just an extension of the chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'chulei b'bechinas ein soif mamish, to the degree that it roots all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way back up. And there's the best azach in the welt is to do a favor for another yid, because in truth, when you do a favor for another yid, you're being mamshech the highest levels of chasadim. Anu oimrim yichaz techazeh aleinu. We say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your chesed should be drawn down upon us, mamish. What we're saying is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, let me see within my mitzumtzum dekamidos of chesed, that it's concealed within my malchus to asiyah, which shines within this world of olam hazeh, that it's that I should come to realize that it's all rooted all the way above. And so too the capacity of thinking, the most refined form of thinking, where we can conceive of thought as a notion through which HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself. What's drawn down from there, it's drawn down ad b'chinas machshava de malchus de asiyah asher choyshev la'asais b'payil l'maisa. My thinking is an extension, it is a framing, it is a concealment, a tzimtzum that reveals the higher level of thought, which is the same for the higher level of thought and the higher level of thought. Ad ein kates u'lamala ein kates, back to the place of atzmuso yisparach kavyachol, as it reveals itself after the tzimtzum. And so too with dibur and maisa. And so too with speech and with action, v'chulei. Just as we said that everything that a person has within their desire can express itself in the world of Asiya because of that access of Keser and Malchus, so too with regards to thinking. The only difference is every ounce of a yid's revelation in this world, every ounce of a yid's revelation across all extensions, across all boundaries, is this process of being mitzamsem from the highest imaginable level, to the degree that a yid is a merkava la'elyonim by way of the secret of the tzimsumim and the bittul, which enables oneself to become a merkava for the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's interesting, the Mitteler Rebbe is saying this only applies by Keser, and then no, it also applies by Chochma. Once you understand that it applies by Chochma, then you can see how it applies to the midos as well. To almost as if to say, and again, I don't know if I'm correct on this, that Keser we understand, Chochma, okay, now we understand. Once we understand the secret of Bittul and Chochma, then a person can then go and look at how this applies to the Machshava, Dibur, and Maisa, and the Midos themselves as well. This really is like the Torah of Kamarna, that the Midos themselves, being revelatory of the highest levels of the Midos Kavyachol of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is the place of the Ramak and the Hamshach of the Ramak into the Torah of the Kamarna Rebbe and the Toldos Yaakov Yosef, and that Hamshach from the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh. Ki kamosha kol asher chafetz baratzon ha'atzmos oise kach kol asher chafetz baratzono ha'atzmi choyshe v'chulei rak sheyared v'nimshach b'shtalshlos ad chatza v'ratzono v'sichlo mashavta ba'asiya b'payel mamish v'chulei. Aval hakol rak ratzon v'seichel umida b'bechinas maisa echad techashiv l'gabe b'bechinas ha'atzmos mamish kamuvan mikol hanizka la'el v'day l'meven. But the most important thing that we have to maintain and hold in our minds, that the reason that we're able to say that the highest level of Chachma reveals itself in the lowest level of Chachma, and that the highest level of Keser reveals itself in the lowest level of Keser, is because the erech of Atzmusis Baruch Kavyachol, even the Chachma Shebe Atzmius or Ein Sof Kavyachol, the highest imaginable darga, is still nechshav as an asiya Kavyachol klape, the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And because everything is null and void in the light of Atzmusis Baruch, to the degree that it's perpetually ungraspable, and it shines that ungraspability upon everything, which reveals that anything grasped is ultimately composed of the same stuff, while maintaining the fundamental differentiation and significance of each and every concept thought. In that place, a person comes to realize that kedushasi l'mala mikdushaseichem, and it's ein aroich l'cha dafka mi'olam hazeh. Because when I come to realize ein aroich l'cha, what happens is that my lowest hasaga in olam hazeh is also as reflective of the highest hasaga imaginable, because both of them are null and void in the face of the actual infinite, so to speak, which never is revealed in grasp. The kachu b'chol prate hesavos and etzalim v'hanivraim v'hanoitzim v'hanasim me'atzmos he'in sof kavyachol. Kulam miyuchadim u'mekusharim kol. Sorry, have I lost my place for a second? Say there in the middle. Va'achar kol zeh. After knowing all of this, that hakol rak rotzon v'seichel umidu machshavu ma'isa echad techashev legabe bechinas ha'atzmus mamish kemuvan mikol hanal v'day lemeven, that all of the levels that we're talking about are not even drop in the bucket compared to the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light and the secret of kedushasi l'malim kedushas seichem. So then we can see how everything is an extension of the levels before it up to the highest level. V'achar kol zeh, and after all of this, hare yaskil ha'adam behisboinenuso b'mi bara ele begashmias ich sheloi nivdal gam haprat hayoter acharon mehamakor haklali hayoter rishon gam b'chol prat sheb'chol davar v'davar kamo b'bria shamayim ha'oretz o b'chol pratei chelkei doimim sameach hay medaber ich sheshorashim beruchnias demalchus ta'atzilus ad roim ha'mailus achuz v'kosher keshalshelis v'chulei. Mitteler Rebbe is saying as it is, that with this proper understanding, we can now understand that wherever we walk, whatever we contemplate, in the way of contemplation, which is pausing and saying, who created this, in the physical world, which is Me'oyer Avas Hashem, as the Rambam says, a person comes to understand that in truth, there's no separation between the lowest iteration at the end of the Seder Hishtalshlus, from the general perspective, from the most lofty revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's expression, that it's found even in the smallest particular within each and everything in this world, within this world itself. We come to understand how their roots, their spiritual roots, are rooted in the ruchnius of Malchus to Asiya, all the way back up to the Roim Hamailus, all the way up to the highest level. It's all rooted and fundamentally connected in one fell swoop. Now, again, we are not, God forbid, saying that the thing itself is identifiable with that light. That is not allowed. That is not the revelation of what Panemius Torah is coming to show. In the future, there will be levels of hisgalus that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will enable with the aliyas ha'dailamos and the zichuch of the masachim and the bittul of all of the tzimtzumim, and there's going to be dargan and geula, which are going to reveal new hasagos, but those new hasagos are always going to reveal the newer hasagos that are not yet grasped. So the same process is always going to be there. It's just going to be abstracted onto a much higher frame, and the difficulty is going to be far more pleasurable than any pleasure that we can consider in relationship to our difficulties in this world. So meaning to say that there's always an abstraction of the full system, but nevertheless, what we thought was ungraspable becomes graspable. So we're not saying that the Metzius itself is identifiable with, God forbid, this Hamshacha Yeshera, to the degree that a person can point to this worldliness and say that it's an expression, it is the revelation, it is, God forbid, godly, God forbid, to come to that place of pantheistic worship, of identifying this lowly world in its concealment and being mavatalid and saying that, no, it's identifiable with God. It's not identifiable with God. The Torah is real and the mitzvahs are real, and therefore the world is real, and because the world is real, the world is concealing the essence of godliness. It doesn't mean the essence of godliness is gone, God forbid, but it does not mean that this world is identifiable with godliness. It means that this world exists within the framework of an unchanging infinitude and simple unity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's infinitude that sustains, saturates, fills, and surrounds all things, but it does not mean that it is the thing itself. It's seeing the shirish of it. After understanding this secret, says the Mitteler Rebbe, a person will come to yaskil, will come to understand through the secret of hisbonenus and hapshata, and not getting stuck in hagshama, God forbid. Will come to contemplate who created the world by way of a physical study, and will come to see how there's no separation between the lowest prat and the highest level, and each and everything contains, from the beginning of creation to the end of creation, within every factor of inanimate matter, vegetative matter, the animal kingdom, human experience, how all of them are fundamentally rooted in their ruchnius, in the nitzutz apnimi, and not the gashmius, God forbid, but the ruchniusehem. The malchus ta'asiyah, the guf has not yet been revealed to be the vehicle of that yet. The body keeps score of the future, but not yet. Shasharasham beruchnius the malchus ta'asiyah. Ad roim hamailus, all the way back up to the highest level, achos v'kasher k'shashelis v'chulei. We know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world with Keser and with Chochma. Hari b'chinas Keser v'Chochma sheba'atzilas b'ri yitzira nasiya miyuchadim kol kach b'prateim ha'mistafim mehem b'midos b'machshava dibur ma'isa sheb'chol olam. Shu klalius eser sfiros t'chol olam shu atik yomin arach anpin abba v'ima zer anpin v'nukva de atzilas b'ria yitzira and asiya. Seder. Ad bechinas asiya de malchus de asiya. It's all rooted in the way that it was rooted in the beginning. The lower can extend itself upwards to the higher, and the higher reveals itself within the lower. So too in the way that we reveal these levels of Keser and Chochma. Being mevatel the midos and even those levels back to the levels that exist above them, back all the way, abstracting each and every level back up to that place of infinitude, so to speak. We can extend Malchus on the Makom itself all the way back up. And so too the well-known statement from the Zohar Kadosh, Di'ihu tafis b'chol almin v'leis man de tafis bei, afilu machshava v'ratzon hakadam v'chulei. Now make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it that the Keser and the Chochma, no matter how high, no matter how lofty they are, and how reflective they are of their source, and how quick it enables us to go from the lowest iteration all the way up to the highest iteration, to the degree that we're fundamentally aware that everything is just a singular extension of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he, Rabbeinu Shalom, is mislabesh within all of the worlds, but none of the worlds and none of the creatures in the world have the ability of grasping him. Not the machshava, not the ratzon hakadam, not even the highest levels. And so we always have to ensure that we're not identifying the shoyresh of something within atzmiuso of or in soif kaviyachol with that graspability of the essence of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, God forbid. The essence of a Kadosh Baruch Hu is everywhere revealed, but it's not grasped. Umikol zeh harayuvan b'chinas yichud v'chibor haprat el haklal derech klalus hakol. With this, we finally understand and have a clear understanding of the unity between the particularization and the parts and the general principles and the klal. In a general way, Hakol me'atzmius ha'or ein soif be'atzilus b'yitzira and asiya. All of it is revealed to be an extension of the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's Megala itself in the worlds of Atzilus, Bri, Yitzir, and Asiya. Milvad b'chinas HaYichud sheb'chol olam derech prat be'eser sfiro shabo. This is beyond the particular relationship of all of the spheros in the particular worlds. This is a way of looking at the relationship between the worlds in a klaliistic way. Usually it goes from Chochma to Bina to Zah to Malchus, and then from Malchus to Keser v'chule, where one leads to the other, and the other comes from the one preceding it. But there's a klaliistic way of looking at, no, Chochma goes to Chochma, goes to Chochma, Bina goes to Bina, goes to Bina, goes to Bina, and then wherever you're grasping Bina, you're grasping all of the Binas, for example. This is the oivi that the Rashash is Megala. So it exists within each and every individual world, the typical erech of the relationship. That even though a person has to know the typical way of drawing things down in their typical order, from Keser to Chochma to Bina, at the very same point, a person should also understand the yichudim that we've just been talking about, which is how the klal goes back to the next klal and goes all the way back to atzmius or in seif mamish. Like we just said, that no matter where a person is holding in the derech prat, no matter how focused a person is on that particular word, on that particular feeling, they have to always remember to see it within the one fell swoop perspective of the unity of all things. It has to be drawn, and both of those perspectives have to be present at once. Like we saw, the Mitteler Rebbe says, this is Bechia and Chedva, Takua Mesitrada, V'Takua Mesitrada, that we have these two orientations of closeness and distance at the very same time. Person has to have the klal and the prat. That milvad HaYichud v'habitul kol olam b'prat l'gabe ha'atzmius v'chula. That in addition to the regular way of looking at things, we have to have this larger view. Ad sheyavo lo kol ha'espoinus shemarchiv b'prat be'inyan zeh b'kitzer muflag. To the point that a person takes all of the arichos and all of the particular sugyos and all of the stations in which Chochma reveals itself, and to go through that long view, but at the same point to develop a quintessential drop that holds all of that within itself, a kitzer muflag. A wondrous kitzer. It's a derech harucha shi kitzera. Kame malchus malchus kol olamim. to say one word and to awaken myself to that secret of Malchuscha, Malchus Kol Elamim, that just as the aspect of Malchus Ein Sof reveals itself in the Malchus of Asiya, we also see this in the Ratzon and the Chochma and all of the other expressions. We have to develop this quick path. We have to develop this quick way of starting the conflagration of the mind, which will illuminate the slow and steady process of taking it step by step. To the degree that ani hu, above, below, on all of the levels, it's reflective of the original source of all things, even the farthest extension of something. Mamish. Ani Hashem lo shinisi. Ani Hashem lo shinisi. And the light of Havaya, the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's etzem kavyachol, which is miskala, but not grasped within every aspect of revelation, it doesn't shift, it doesn't change. It's ki'ilu lo yatzati. It's ki'ilu that tzimtzum never happened. It's all mitzidenu. Mitzido yisparach, nothing shifted, ever, ever, ever. We don't know anything. B'chinas anihu b'chinas malchus. That ani Hashem lo shinisi reveals itself in the interiority of malchus itself, which is the b'china of the ayin de Keser, the radla, reishad lo asyada, the gar of Keser, which is notes tchilas and besoifen. It's a secret of malchus agnuza beradla. B'chol oilam u'beprat. Each and every world has this. B'chem derech klalis, and also to understand it by way of generality. L'zeh oimer, and with this it says ani Hashem lo shinisi. I am Hashem, I have not changed. Bein b'malchus to ein soif kavyachol, l'malchus to asiya klal. There's no differentiation. B'zesh hakasav malchuscha hu malchus kol ha'olamim, and malchus to asiya mitam kol hanizkar la'el v'day l'mevin. What the Mitteler Rebbe is giving us is a fundamental principle that no matter where you hold in the complication of the system, you have to always remember that each and every particular point on the system, no matter how far it seems to be from the source of all things, is a point in which a person can access the klal of all klalim. There is no point of contemplation that should not become the gateway, the Shaar, to enter into the deepest contemplation imaginable, to the deepest points of thinking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this is the secret of Purim. Secret of Purim, as the Mitteler Rebbe explains in Shaar Ora, is the element of Chochma being revealed lamata me'asar tfachim, of the Yesod da'aba that's maskala b'chutz, to reveal that from the perspective of Chochma, when we access that bittul, that the bittul that a person has when they're contemplating words of Torah in this world, in the congealment of one's own mind, and a person begins to contemplate machshava, and a person begins to think about the mind itself, and it begins to contemplate the yichud of thought, thinker, and that which is being thought. And then we extend ourselves upwards to higher levels of thinking, and along the seder of the shtalshlus, a person can come to a place of hispashtas agashmias. A person can come to a place for a moment where there's a hitznoitzitzitz hamoichin, where there's a hamtaka of all of the dinim, of kulam bechachma espariru. Rabbi Nachman says the same exact thing. Every chachma is a tzimtzum. Every chachma is a tzimtzum, more chachma, more tzimtzumim. And the only way to be mamtik all of the tzimtzumim is in the highest level of tzimtzum, which is the highest level of chachma, which is the chachma stima'a of arich anpin, which is the secret of the chachma within Keser. It's exactly what the Mitteler Rebbe is describing. And on Purim, we have to understand that every prat, it's a time to be misbainin on the daimim sameach chai medaber, avolim ha'asiya, avolim ha'yitzira, avolim ha'briya, to see everything in all of its vivid colors and all of the changes and the shifts, and to see each of those things as a vessel that's being megala, the bittul hamuchletas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's chachma, of the ayin hasharashi, of the bittul b'sharasha of pnimius chachma, pnimius atik, and the secret of drawing down the ha'ar of Mordechai, which is also drawing down the light of Reish Lo Yada, and being the malchus, the asiya, revealing that it's in truth rooted in the highest place. That's Esther Malka, who's rooted in a place of utter concealment, and the Safra Ditznius, and that place of the Tznius Ha'elyona, where there's a hitznoisis that's of Kacha Yasali'ish, Shashar Melech Chavetz Bikaro, Kacha, it is what it is. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you run the Welt the way you run it, and we're here to reveal the light of it. We're here to reveal the righteousness of it, and that's Mordechai Yatsa Melefnei HaMelech. And Be'ezras Hashem will be zoicha to taste even a drop of all of the words of the tzaddikim on Purim, to allow one fluid ounce of a fluid ounce, one drop to descend downwards into the inside, to be mamtik the thirst of a person's soul, and to find the secret of hispia b'sach tzachos nafshecha, to take presence within the process of understanding what the tzaddikim are saying, and to allow ourselves to live with true simcha, which is kadai lismoch. Kedai lismoch, kedai lismoch, kedai lismoch. The tzaddikim give us permission to rely upon them. The svarim of the tzaddikim give us permission to rely upon them. The living tzaddikim give us permission to rely upon them. The Yichidei Hadoros give us permission to rely upon them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us permission to rely upon him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is soivel kol almin. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tolerates all worlds. And it's hashich yehavcha Hashem v'hu yichal kalecha, that when we throw with our hands up and we reveal the helplessness of it all, and we take malchus and we throw it all the way back up immediately in the blink's eye. Kasher avadati, I have to go into the kitzer mode, kitzer mufleges. I have to say, Keil na rafan na la. Kasher avadati. In that place, everything was mishapich. B'layla hazeh nadid shnas hamelech. The sleep transitions in an instant, and suddenly, pitom yavo hamelech. The melech is there, and a person can be tayim a tainug nifla of emuna, and believing in what we believe, and believing in our emuna, and having emuna shlema in our emuna, and be'ezras Hashem to be zeichet a simcha v'adulayada, a simcha that's pirates kol hagvulim, a simcha that draws all of the light of Chochma and wisdom and Keser and desire and shuka into the inside itself, to draw it down so that it can irrigate the self itself, and it go down to the midos and the dimyon, and it can be mamtik, and it give us the ability to be makabel malchus shemayim, to daven better, to learn better, to do more mitzvos maisios, to be kinder, to be more compassionate, to make space for the other, more bittul, more joy, more simcha, more revelation. Ad vias goyel tzedek be'ezras Hashem.